Randall William Collins, 24, was last seen leaving the Canal Club in downtown Richmond, Virginia in the early hours of April 6, 2014. Randall has been diagnosed with a disorder which causes seizures and requires medication. Additionally, according to his concerned sister, he has addiction issues which cause him to drink excessively, which in turn can result in severe seizures, and such actions could be deadly. On the night of April 5th, 2014, Randall was witnessed by the staff at the Canal Club being, quote, highly intoxicated, and he was eventually escorted out of the building after passing out. Upon leaving the club, security guards report seeing him following along behind a group of people walking eastbound towards the direction of the Churchill district where he lived. Another unconfirmed report states that a witness saw him get into a car with two black males. Other witnesses report seeing him standing alone along the wall outside the club. While police have investigated extensively, there have been no further sightings, and surveillance footage from the club was unable to provide any conclusive information. Bloodhounds initially tracked Randall's scent to the banks of the nearby Kanawha Canal. Crews searched the canal extensively, first with sonar detection, and later they even drained the canal, but they were unable to find any clues. In the ensuing weeks after Randall's disappearance, a body was spotted in the canal, but it was determined to be that of a homeless man and unrelated to Randall's disappearance. Randall's family, dedicated to the cause of finding answers, have submitted their own DNA to the state and national databases, and have reached out to the Reopen the Case Foundation in hopes of generating new leads. The evolution of DNA technology has spurred advances in cases worldwide, with such labs as Parabon Nanolabs spearheading the investigations into cases previously thought unsolvable. Some wonder if an alcohol-induced seizure or possibly a blackout may have caused a fall into the canal. Such water conditions may have washed any pertinent artifacts away, leaving them unfound and unrecovered by police. Many following the case say that the witness statement about Randall entering into a vehicle with two other male occupants takes what could have been an accidental death into the realm of homicide. Proximity of the bar to the I-95 freeway makes narrowing down a specific search area near impossible if a vehicle was involved. The area where Randall went missing is heavy in foot traffic and a popular part of Richmond. Given that it was a Saturday night, it is likely someone witnessed something and has yet to come forward. Some thought that the victim, intoxicated, may have wandered into an alleyway or possibly an abandoned building. But after 8 years, it is unlikely that the bustling town would not have already unearthed such secrets. Randall Collins is a black male who stands around 5 foot 8 inches tall and weighs around 150 pounds. He has the name Randall tattooed on his right arm. If you have any information, please contact the Richmond City Police Department at area code 804-646-5100. Lucinda Huels was only 17 years old when she mysteriously disappeared from the parking lot of a Tampa Bay nightclub in 1984, one which she technically was too young to have attended, as even if no alcohol is sold to teenagers themselves, one must be at least 18 to enter a nightclub. In 1992, her family, worried sick and searching for their missing child, received a phone call from a woman claiming to be Lucinda. Sadly, DNA evidence proved otherwise, and this would be yet another question in a tragic pursuit of answers. Born Tens Lucinda Harris on April 6, 1967, she was the oldest of 3 children. Known by her middle name, Lucinda, by friends and family, her mother, Helen, had raised her and her younger brother and sister in Hillsborough, Florida. In 1981, at the age of only 14, Lucinda found out that she was pregnant. Then, on April 3, 1982, just 3 days before her 15th birthday, Lucinda would marry the father of her unborn child, 19-year-old Larry Huels. The age difference was a topic of concern. However, the pregnancy overshadowed such discussions. The newlyweds resided in Tampa, Florida, where they had both grown up. Their son, Tony, was born that November, and in February of 1984, when Lucinda was 17, the couple welcomed their second child, a daughter named Deanna. As in her early adolescence, Lucinda reportedly liked being a caretaker. She loved being a mother and thrived in her role. While she occasionally went out to party and was known to smoke marijuana, motherhood always took priority, and her children were steadfastly well cared for. In the fall of 1984, Lucinda was in the process of starting a part-time job so that she could work after Larry came home to avoid needing childcare. Lucinda's exact whereabouts on the night of Friday, October 26, 1984, vary, therefore compounding the confusion surrounding the case. That evening, Lucinda had told Larry that she was going to do the family's laundry at the nearby laundromat she frequented on 40th and Bush Boulevard in Tampa. She left their home on Old Temple Terrace Highway with a laundry basket and $15 to do the wash. This would be the last time Lucinda's family ever saw her. At some point, Lucinda returned to her 1972 Ford Mustang with clean laundry in hand, folded in the laundry basket. She placed it in the back of the car, and around 9 p.m. walked back into her apartment building and met with her friend, a 20-year-old waitress named Nika. Nika recalls that she let Lucinda inside so that she could change her clothes. Nika recalls Lucinda asking if she wanted to go get a drink at the Char Paul Lounge. The Char Paul Lounge was notorious for organized crime and is briefly featured in the cult classic Goodfellas. Nika said yes and called another friend, Linda, to join them. At around 9:30 p.m., the three women left the apartment and walked down Old Temple Terrace Highway to the Char Paul Lounge. The timeline for this outing is murky, as after this point, according to Nika, the women played pool for about an hour before breaking apart to speak with other patrons at the bar. At some point during this time, Linda was approached by her ex-husband, Sam. Shortly later, a dispute between Linda and Sam broke out. Linda recalled that around the time that Sam entered the bar, she saw Lucinda talking to a different man named Larry Douglas Moore. A week prior, Moore had offered Lucinda a job with this company. She was supposed to start the job on October 29th, and the two had discussed her upcoming work arrangements. Moore was witnessed as having left the tavern alone at 11 p.m. and says that he never saw Lucinda again. Sometime between midnight and 1 a.m. on Saturday, October 27th, Lucinda left the Char Paul Lounge with another friend. As the two walked out, Linda spotted Lucinda smoking weed in the parking lot with several other people. Because Linda was intoxicated by this point, the descriptions of the individuals taking part was hazy. However, she did hear the distinct laughter of Lucinda. When she heard Lucinda laugh, Linda approached the group and asked her if she was ready to go home. Lucinda declined, and Linda left the bar with her friend. This was the last confirmed sighting of Lucinda Huels. At 9 a.m. on Saturday morning, Linda noticed that Lucinda's car was still parked at the Char Paul Lounge. Finding this odd, Linda contacted Larry, and the two approached the car together. The car was unlocked, and the folded laundry was still in the back seat. Her belongings, including the car keys, were nowhere to be found, and there was no sign of her whereabouts. Larry became concerned. Although Lucinda was known to party on the weekends, she would always arrive home in the early morning to care for her children. Larry also believed that his wife would have contacted him if she was planning on staying at a friend's. Immediately, Larry and Lucinda's mother, Helen, began driving around the streets surrounding the Char Paul Lounge, as well as other popular areas in Tampa. When they were unable to find Lucinda at any of her usual hangout spots, Larry and Helen contacted the Hillsborough police. Larry also tried to get the attention of local media and begged Tampa news stations to run Lucinda's story during the evening news. Despite his efforts, Lucinda's disappearance got little coverage. One local newspaper told Larry that they would publish the story of his wife's disappearance if he was willing to pay a $500 advertising fee. According to Helen, the local law enforcement assigned to her daughter's case did not take her disappearance seriously. She says this was in part due to her lack of high socioeconomic standing, as well as the fact that she was last seen at a tavern. Because of the lack of interest from law enforcement and the media, Helen started posting Lucinda's missing flyers all over Tampa herself. She often posted them on bulletin boards at truck stops with the hopes that somebody, somewhere, would contact her with information on her daughter. Both Larry and Helen knew that Lucinda would never have run away. In addition to her typical family priorities, Lucinda was excited to celebrate Halloween with her children. And outwardly, she seemed to enjoy her typical parental obligations. She had been busy planning a birthday party for her young son. 2 weeks after her disappearance, Tony celebrated his second birthday without his mother. Knowing that she would never miss her son's birthday, Larry and Helen remained convinced that Lucinda had met with foul play. In November, a few weeks after Lucinda's disappearance, a discovery was made in the bathroom of a Busch Gardens Zoo campground in northern Tampa, a couple miles from the Sharp Hall Lounge. In a men's room stall, a purse was found containing Lucinda's identification, her marriage certificate, money, as well as some personal belongings. The keys to her 1972 Ford Mustang were not in her purse and have never been recovered. After her purse was found, law enforcement started to pay slightly more attention to the disappearance of the young mother and officially opened an investigation. Lucinda's friends, Nika and Linda, were interviewed by police and gave as much information on the bar patrons as they could recall. Nika, Linda, and Linda's ex-husband Sam were all officially ruled out as suspects. In the early 1990s, law enforcement began to wonder if Lucinda had been a victim of a serial killer in the area, known as, quote, the classified ad rapist. The culprit, later named as Bobby Joe Long, was living in Tampa Bay at the time that Lucinda disappeared, and he was known to target women at nightclubs and bars. Because the Sharp Hall Lounge was within the perimeters of Long's preying grounds, law enforcement did later investigate his involvement, but to no avail. Long, who was executed by the state of Florida in 2019, denied any involvement in Lucinda Huels' disappearance. In 2015, Lucinda and Larry's daughter, Deanna, told Fox 13 Tampa News about a very strange phone call that she'd answered in 1992 when she was just 8 years old. The woman on the other end of the phone asked whom she was speaking to. When Deanna told the woman her name, the woman exclaimed, quote, "Oh my goodness, my baby girl, this is your mother." The woman claimed to be Lucinda Huels, now 25 years old. She told Larry that she had run away and had left her family because she was stressed out from the pressures and responsibilities of being a young mother. She told Larry that she was currently living in a mobile home and working as a waitress. Larry was immediately ecstatic and invited the woman to come back home to Florida. The rest of Lucinda's family was also happy, but ready for answers. Her younger sister, Katrina, recalled the event as, quote, exciting, emotional, and scary. And despite the many questions that she had for Lucinda, she wanted her back in Florida with the rest of her family. When the woman claiming to be Lucinda arrived in Tampa Bay in the summer of 1992, her family started to grow suspicious. Something was off about Lucinda, who seemed to have an explanation for everything. The once prominent gap in her front teeth, now straight, she attributed to braces. She also claimed to have had reconstructive jaw surgery after a car accident several years prior, explaining why her chin shape was so different than in 1984. Even though the woman looked eerily like Lucinda, her siblings, Katrina and Ricky, began to suspect that the woman was an imposter. Unfortunately, they would be proven correct. The woman claiming to be Lucinda was actually a woman from Arkansas named Amanda Michelle Dennis. And like Lucinda, Amanda had left a family with several questions in her wake. Very little information is available in regards to Amanda Michelle Dennis and her life before and after impersonating Lucinda Huels, due to her being a teenage runaway. In 1990, Amanda met an 18-year-old named Danny Fletcher while she was waitressing in Arkansas. Within months of meeting, the two were married in October of 1990. When Danny and Amanda got married in a small courthouse ceremony, Amanda provided her voter registration ID instead of a birth certificate, which she claimed was no longer in her possession. She did not have any personal documents, nor records, nor photographs of her family, and she also had no family heirlooms of any kind. Amanda would also become nervous and angry when someone wanted to take her picture, which was suspicious to those around her. In the summer of 1990, Amanda, under the guise of Lucinda, made the trip from Arkansas to Florida to reconnect with the family she claimed to have abandoned. She told them about hitchhiking from the Sharpaw Lounge to Memphis before relocating in Arkansas. While looking at old photo albums and reminiscing with Lucinda's childhood friends, Amanda seemingly knew every detail about the events and people in the pictures, as if she'd seen them before. Despite this, Lucinda's family and close friends could not shake the feeling that something was not right. When Larry finally confronted Amanda, she vehemently defended herself. Soon, the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office was at their door, asking Amanda to come in for questioning after Danny had reported her missing back in Arkansas. In September of 1992, a blood test confirmed what her family already knew. The woman was not Lucinda. The Huels family was confused by the deception. Amanda Dennis never provided a reason why she would impersonate Lucinda. It remains unclear if the women ever even knew each other, nor how Amanda learned about Lucinda. It has been 38 years since Lucinda Huels was last seen. At the time of her disappearance, she was 5 foot 6 inches tall and weighed 145 pounds. She has brown, medium-length hair, brown eyes, and was last seen wearing a tank top sweater with black and white pinstriped pants. She is Caucasian and Hispanic. Larry Huels died in 2010 without ever knowing what happened to his missing wife. Tony Huels wrote a personal account of his mother's disappearance and continues to hope for answers. Daryl Fernihau was a proud member of the LGBTQIA community. He went missing from Halifax, Nova Scotia, a province in eastern Canada, sometime in the early hours of Sunday, May 13th, 2001. After enjoying a night out dancing and drinking with friends, Daryl was seen at Club NRG at 2215 Gottingen Street at around 1:30 a.m. Later, he was seen running north on that same street towards the Marquee Ballroom, located at 2037 Gottingen Street, at 3:40 a.m. These two clubs are within 5 minutes walking distance of each other. It is unclear why Daryl was running from one location to the next. Daryl had two cousins, Kim and Jamie McKeegan, who lived in an apartment building behind the Marquee Ballroom. He would often stay at their place after a night out and was supposed to return to their apartment the night he went missing. One of the cousins had given Daryl their spare apartment key earlier that evening. Daryl's cousin Jamie was the one who spotted him at 3:40 a.m. She recalls that she was sitting in a friend's car when she saw her cousin run by. She says that when she spotted Daryl, he was running in the direction of the Marquee Ballroom, but not as if going to her dwelling in particular, as he was running in the direction that was going away from her apartment building. Jamie spoke with local media and said that her 29-year-old cousin had no history of drug involvement, no history of mental illness, and had never left for an extended period of time without informing family members. Jamie also said, quote, "The thing that really boggles my mind is, where was he at those 2 hours? He had to be talking to somebody. He had to be with somebody. Somebody had to see him." Daryl had recently been promoted and was a butcher at Sobeys on Queen Street. He had learned skills from his father, who had owned S&S Meat Market in Sydney Mines. At the time of his disappearance, he was living with a friend, Aaron McDonald, on Portland Street in Dartmouth. The father of Daryl's roommate's child was also staying at the apartment for some time, and there was reportedly tumult regarding expenses such as rent and utilities. The man allegedly told Daryl's roommate, Aaron, in regards to Daryl also living in the space, quote, "He goes or I go." The man ended up moving out entirely, but with much hostility. It is alleged that Daryl's roommate, Aaron, saw Daryl at Club NRG the night he went missing, and that she supposedly asked him to come home with her, but he told her that he was staying with his cousins. Daryl's mother said that after his disappearance, Aaron asked her ex-boyfriend if he had any knowledge of what had happened to Daryl. He claimed that he did not, and left Halifax shortly after Daryl vanished, moving to British Columbia. Aaron was reported to be living in South Korea as of 2016. Daryl's bank account has remained untouched since his vanishing. His father is seeking to have him declared legally dead. The Halifax police spokesperson says that Daryl's case is open and currently assigned to an investigator in the Integrated Criminal Divisions Unit, which encompasses missing persons. She says that Daryl's credit cards and bank accounts have remained untouched since his disappearance, and that there have been no confirmed sightings of Daryl since Jamie saw him run by on that early morning in 2001. Daryl is described as white, 5'11", 162 pounds, with blonde hair and blue eyes. He was last seen wearing a green shirt, jeans, and dark shoes.